The Lunaverse by Rainbow Double Dash. Episode 16, Hero of Oaton by That Guy Fex. Chapter 4, Perspectives. Cut and Dry and her fellow guards were thirsty, and the hooch back at the camp was all gone. So that meant it was time for another trip to the Pondunk village to snatch some of theirs. Cut and Dry didn't like the locals at all. The villagers were always giving her and her fellow guards unpleasant looks, muttering under their breaths when the guards buried tabards adorned with the copper coins family's hereditary walked by. The lack of respect was irritating, but as long as they kept their traps shut and kept the drink flowing, Cut and Dry didn't care what the residents of this no-tame hamlet thought.
Hey, kid, what's going on here, do you think?
Said Bothiel, the dark brown earth pony stallion, nodding his head toward the middle of the town, chain coif of his armor, jingling as he did so. Cut and Dry peered, noticing that there was indeed an odd gathering in the middle of the village. Easily the majority of the villagers circling something, or someone near the entrance of the road that led out of town. The rust-colored unicorn mare adjusted the scabbard of the sword on seats on her back and narrowed her forest green eyes.
Let's go find out. Lucky Key, you hang back, just in case this leads to trouble.
Sure thing, sis. Well, just, watch yourself. Them villager types don't look us much,
said her brother as he halted, and let Cut and Dry and Bothiel continued on. If anything went wrong, he'd be able to gallop back to camp and let their supervisors know about it. She wasn't expecting there to be trouble, but she didn't credit these villagers with a lot of intelligence. So it was always possible they'd get stupid enough to attack the guards of a noble family. Consequences be damned. Cut and Dry made sure her tabard was on straight, proudly displaying the red fish of the copper coins. She didn't care if these villagers wanted to spit all over her. She wouldn't let them forget who she worked for. Next to her, Bothiel, who had her beat in the height department by a good hoof and a half, said,
"Looks like, they're talking to some pony. Magenta. Earth pony. Mighty damn fine looking. She ain't local."
Cut and Dry didn't question. Bothiel was a lousy guard, with a tendency to cove off and chase tail more than actually do his job. But he had very good eyes, and a solid memory for details. She frowned. New pony in town? That didn't happen. Not in Oaton. It was a speck of a hamlet, and no pony new ever showed up. At least not since the whole gig with the Limber Guild. That made investigating all the more important. As they approached the back of the crowd, Cut and Dry could hear a mare's voice speaking that clear and carrying tone some pony used when addressing a crowd to be heard, but without shouting over them.
All right, so this round's adjective is dysfunctional.
Cut and Dry cocked her head. The hell these ponies were doing? The crowd of villagers hadn't noticed her, or Bothiel yet. So she took the opportunity to listen in, not able to see who was at the center of the crowd, but able to hear the mayor's voice speak up again.
Let's see what you've all chosen. Yes, I suppose tax return forms are a tad dysfunctional, but ho-ho! Some ponies feeling rebellious. The nobility can rate as being dysfunctional at times, but I've met a few nobles who are all right.
Cut and Dry bristled. She didn't know what these ponies were jabbering about, but to smack the talk like the nobility like that was infuriating. These country bumpkins just didn't get it, did they? The noble class existed for a reason. Knowing one's place, one's purpose in the social structure. That was the stability and peace Equestria enjoyed, stemming from a noble class that knew how to run the show. Without that, it'd just be chaos of every pony being out for themselves. She lived what it was like to not know one's place in the world, and to be surrounded by that kind of free-for-all culture, where anybody could do what they please, no order or higher powers to keep them in check. She didn't realize he had been grounded until a faded earth pony villager turned and looked at her, his eyes going wide.
"Hey! Lay the lights you don't hear! We don't want you in the village no more!"
Following that pony's voice, a number of the other villagers also turned their attention to the two approaching guards, and a dark, uneasy murmur passed throughout the crowd. Cut and Dry met the villagers' unfriendly looks, and tears with a hard look of her own. Pride in her voice. She kept standing tall, as long as she had the copper coin fish on her chest, the symbol of her peace in life.
The likes of us are here to spend some coin on some decent liquor. About the only thing this village is good for.
Well, we saw all you folk gathered up here, and we're wondering what the fuss was about. So how about you ponies stand aside in the name of the copper coins and let us get a gander of who you're talking to?
The crowd didn't part. If anything, it seemed to condense. Ponies moving in between the two guards, and the pony in the middle of the crowd. But rather quickly, a voice, female and oddly cheerful sounding, rose above the din of unhappy murmuring.
Oh, come now, every pony. I'm not shy or anything. Let them through if they want to talk to me.
It took a minute, but the crowd did slowly and begrudgingly part, and allowed the two guards to step forward to the middle of the gathering. It made Cut and Dry just a little nervous, being surrounded in such a manner, and it made her adjust her sword sheath once more. The clearing in the center of the gathered crowd had two ponies standing in it. One Cut and Dry recognized as the burly green mayor of the village, Seath. If the other villagers were giving Cut and Dry and Buthiel unpleasant looks, the mayor's eyes were daggers of Corona herself by comparison. Cut and Dry took it aside, ignoring the mayor, and instead fixing her eyes on the magenta mare that was packing away. Some kind of card game? Cut and Dry shook her head, and looked at the magenta mare up and down, sizing her up. She suppressed a snort. She didn't think this mare raised a damn fine, but her preferences tended to run toward Pegasi anyway. More lithe and flexible.
So, Miss whoever you are.
Cheerilee.
Cut and Dry felt her eyebrows raise.
Cheerilee, what brings you to the tail end of South Everfree Provinces?
Sightseeing.
Sightseeing?
When a pony goes from place to place to view the local attractions and taking in the sights.
I know what sightseeing is!
Cut and Dry snapped, feeling an almost irrational level of irritation boiling up inside her. Something about this mare was rubbing her the wrong way.
So, what's an Oaton that be worth sightseeing?
What wouldn't be? It's a beautifully rustic and charming village.
Before Cut and Dry could respond to that, she felt Buthiel nudge her as he glanced over at the stallion, who was pointing to a part of the crowd that was moving aside to let two more ponies in the circle. She immediately noticed a change in attitude of the Oaton villagers. The undertone of sourness toward her and Buthiel was still evident, but now it was supplemented by an almost physical wave of confidence that shot through the crowd at the appearance of these two other ponies. Mare's Broth. Cut and Dry took an almost immediate dislike to the azure unicorn with the silver mane who was wearing a violet starburst adorned wizard hat and cape, mainly due to the blatantly smug grin she was wearing. The other mare, a Jasmine Pegasus, Cut and Dry found curious, as the Pegasus was looking left and right, nervously, and seemed positively jumpy for some reason. She was also wearing some of the thickest glasses Cut and Dry had ever seen. It was kind of cute, actually. The Pegasus was also quite athletic looking. Cut and Dry shook her head a bit, trying to focus. Apparently, athletic plus 30 thick glasses was a combination that did it for her. Who knew? Cheerilee was smiling wildly at these two newcomers, so Cut and Dry could only assume the magenta mare knew them. Though, the way Cheerilee suddenly giggle-snorted while looking at the Pegasus while putting her hoof to her mouth to try and stifle an outright laugh seemed odd.
Raindrops, what are you wearing? Those glasses there.
Don't say it,
Raindrops said, her nervousness suddenly vanishing in an odd mix of embarrassment and anger. Her face tried to look threatening, but the effect was somewhat ruined by the red hue across their faces. Cheerilee was undeterred.
Absolutely adorable!
The Pegasus seemed to sag. Wings dropping so she looked to the ground. Cheerilee coughed, looking a little abashed as she said,
Sorry. I meant it as a compliment. My giggling is a reflex based purely on how good you look with those glasses. Yes! I am such a good friend that I brought along a pair of glasses for Raindrops because she forgot her contact lenses back home.
The azure unicorn said, giving Cheerilee a pointed look that Cut and Dry didn't miss. That was the look that said, play along. She had to use the same look on her brother a few times. What were these ponies trying to hide, though?
Oh, yes,
Cheerilee said with a wry smile.
Silly Raindrops, forgetting your contact lenses like that. Trixie's such a good friend to have brought your backup glasses, which I totally haven't seen until now, but make you just look so cute!
Hate you both,
mumbled Raindrops under her breath. Cut and Dry didn't get what was going on, but she was going to get answers. She walked right up to the Azure Unicorn, who seemed to be the one in charge, but was shocked when several visitors had the gall to get in her way. You won't be threatening our towns here, you hear? Or you'll be in a world of hurt.
Ptwee!
Spat out one of the villagers.
Yeah, don't you even think of trying nothing?
Said another villager with bare breath.
I believe you mean trying anything. Otherwise, you have a double negative.
Corrected Cheerilee with a helpful smile. Cut and Dry was a little shocked. The villagers of Oaton had been plenty displeased with the presence of her and the other guards before, but had never gone beyond the simple grumbling and shot looks. They never dared bar her path, let alone threaten her. More than that, Cut and Dry held a fair bit of confidence in her ability to read a crowd. And this crowd wasn't simply sour about her and Boothiel being here. They felt ready for violence. What was the cause of this change? She got her answer rather quickly, as a clear and cultured tone rang out.
Please! Please, my good citizens of Oaton! The great and powerful Trixie appreciates your concerns, but she is more than capable of dealing with these ponies. You have nothing to fear from them, least of all anything they might try to do to me.
The villagers moved aside, just like that. Cut and Dry's eyes narrowed. The unicorn had the attention of almost every villager upon her. More than that, they responded to this unicorn's presence with a visible surge of bolstered confidence and clear respect. Cut and Dry didn't share it. The mayor was practically basking under them, anticipating and adoring looks the crowd was giving her, sucking the attention like a sponge that was in turn made of many smaller, very smug sponges. It made Cut and Dry want to introduce that self-satisfied looking face to her hoof, but just one glance at the villagers told her that it would have been the worst possible move. They looked ready to jump her and Boothiel, and this unicorn mare so much as gestured a hoof for them to do so.
Who the hell are you?
Cut and Dry asked past grit teeth. The Azure Unicorn grinned from almost ear to ear, sweeping that ridiculous-looking wizard hat off her head, and taking a bow almost like she was on stage. The want-to-punch feeling got stronger in Cut and Dry.
So glad you asked.
The unicorn reared up on her hind legs, forcing her keeping behind her.
I am the shining beacon of hope for all ponies who live in fear of those who abuse their power for unjust machinations.
Cut and Dry's first thought.
What?
I am the unrelenting avalanche of justice that smashes aside the layers of corruption and greed that shall fear skewers from their proper judgment.
Cut and Dry's further process.
Huh? I am the border on the toast of this town, the stoic bull avenger who stands goddess-like upon the shoulders of humility, for no glory or, much appreciated, praise shall discern her from her vigil.
Okay, now she starts choosing words at random.
The guard's mare thought with certainty.
I am!
The unicorn paused mid-sentence, as the Desmond's Pegasus called loudly, faced her with a harsh stare.
Trixie!
The unicorn finished, while giving the Pegasus a wary look.
Trixie!
The Azure Unicorn glanced questioningly at her Pegasus companion, and Raindrops sighed, nodding her head as if to defeat, and saying,
Just one more, then you're cut off.
The unicorn grinned and reared up.
The great and powerful Trixie, element of magic, defender of the dreams and aspirations of young fillies everywhere. You, of course, can humbly refer to me as Trixie.
As ridiculous as all this sounded to her, Cut and Dry couldn't help but noticing the surrounding villagers of Oaton were eating up everything that had been said. Except for the mayor. Cut and Dry had been a guard long enough to read when a pony was hiding a scowl, and the mayor wasn't doing a very good job of hiding it. That would have seemed normal if the look had been for her, but it was directed at this Trixie character. Wait, that name. Hadn't she heard it somewhere before? She couldn't remember, but whatever. Probably wasn't important.
Right. So, now that my train of thought has been thoroughly derailed, let me consult with my associate here for a second.
Cut and Dry said, and turned to Boothiel, who had been spending most of his time eyeing the mayor's present up and down. Cut and Dry tried to suppress a laugh, as Cecilia apparently concluded that The great and powerful Trixie was the highest-ranking piece of flank in the bunch, and gave the unicorn a raunchy grin. To cut and dry's momentary satisfaction, her fellow guard's gesture apparently took the air right out of the Blue Avenger, and caused that smug look to immediately turn sour. Guess he didn't like that kind of attention. Waving a hoof in front of his face to get him to lean his head down next to hers, Cut and Dry whispered, "So, what do you make of these jokers?"
Your premier is a solid 8. Vegas is a little young for me. A 6. Possibly upgrade to higher pending a few years development. And the Unicorn is a freaking 10 out of 10 for being the hottest mare I think I've seen since I scored a ticket to that great Earth Pony Sales Players concert last year.
I meant, who do you really think they are? What's up with that stupid space the unicorn just made?
Cut and Dry said, facing her fellow guard with a harsh glare. Really, was he capable of thinking about anything else? And what did he mean that Pegasus was a 6? Raindrops was clearly the 10 of the trio, not that bag of hot air unicorn! Cut and Dry decided she needed to focus, and stop thinking about the cute Pegasus with glasses. Boothio just cocked his head at her, as if her question didn't quite click.
You don't know. Maybe she's crazy. Yeah, I can dig crazy. The crazy ones are always real manticores under the sheets. What? Do you think there's something odd about them?
Why did I think asking your opinion would be beneficial?
You don't know. Hey, are we getting anything to drink soon? That is why we came to town.
It wasn't clear that she wasn't going to be getting any kind of useful backup for her battle guard. Cut and Dry hesitated for a moment as he glanced back, taking in both the crowd of villagers and these 3 strange mares. Trixie was still standing tall, having gotten over her apparent discomfort at being ogled by Boothio, and was giving her and Boothio a challenging look, like she was daring the 2 guards to try something. Jasmine Pegasus, Raindrops apparently. Cute name, domestic glasses. Ugh! Focus, Cut! Focus! Was also looking her way, but her expression was clearly uncomfortable, as she kept squinting and flicking her eyes upward. Huh, weird. Cheerilee still looked like she was suppressing giggles, apparently finding Trixie's antics far more amusing than Cut and Dry did. Cut and Dry took a deep breath. Given the mood of the crowd, it was clear a tactical retreat was in order. She had to inform her lord about this development as soon as possible. It was her job to protect Copper Coin's interests. While she didn't get half of Trixie's speech, one thing was pretty clear from it. She was a troublemaker.
I'll press for more information. Then, get out of here before things have a chance to get ugly. Alright then, great and powerful Trixie. Fancy talk aside, what are you 2 of these 2 other mares doing here? None of you are from Oaton, and your friend here mentioned sightseeing?
Trixie cast a brief glance at Cheerilee. That could have been anything. And Cut and Dry noticed a barely perceptible shrug from the magenta Earth Pony mare. Trixie put on a confident smile.
Ah, something of a joking understatement of our purpose. First, before I answer that question, allow the astute and perceptive Trixie to confirm something. Those who read this on your tabard, you and your fellows are hired house guard for the Capricorn family, correct?
Cut and Dry narrowed her eyes. Why would the mare be asking that, as she clearly recognized the heraldry? What was this crazy mare's game?
We are,
Cut and Dry said slowly, with a sudden surge of pride,
the appointed house guard and personal bodyguards of Lord Count Shiny Copper Coin.
Shining copper coin? Only in a ponyfic, people. Only in a ponyfic.
I see,
Trixie said with a satisfied grin.
Personal bodyguard! So that would mean your lord is directly involved in this matter.
Cut and Dry glanced and mentally hit herself. There were few things she was more proud of than the fact that she and her team had been assigned as Count Shiny's personal guard. It had been the single greatest moment of her life, receiving this tabard and being told she was being trusted with the safety of the pony who had given her a second chance at life. She knew she shouldn't have given away any additional information that was strictly unnecessary.
What's it to you if he is? What do you mean by this matter?
She said, trying to remain calm.
Oh, no need to look so flustered,
Trixie said with waving a hoof.
This merely simplifies matters. I can speak with both the head of the Lumber Guild and your lord at the same time, if he happens to be here, which I assume he is, if his personal guard is present. As for this matter, I'm referring to the inspection, of course.
Inspection? What inspection?
I don't know what type of game you're trying to pull here, but you better think carefully what you say and do. This land belongs to the Copper Coins. I suggest you start talking straight, Miss Loud and Obnoxious, and explain exactly who you are and what you mean by inspection. No house horse apples.
She doesn't have to answer to you,
shouted a villager.
She's got the bigger, in charge stuff.
I think the word you're looking for isn't authority,
supplied Cheerilee to the villager.
Yeah, that!
Authority! On what grounds?
Cut and Dry couldn't sound more incredulous. Trixie didn't look like she could hold authority over a paper bag. Dang it! That name was still bugging her, too. She was sure she heard it before. Actually, now that Cut and Dry was thinking about it, Cheerilee and Raindrops' names also sounded familiar, like she heard them mentioned pretty recently.
Ahem! If you could keep from making an outburst for a minute, I'd be more than happy to illuminate you,
Trixie said, clearing her throat and looking at Cut and Dry expectantly. Guardsmere grit her teeth and grudgingly nodded for the unicorn to continue.
And now then, for the details. No horse apples, as you so eloquently put it. As I said, my name is Trixie. My associates are Raindrops and Cheerilee. I can see from that look you're giving that you must have heard of us, if not quite remembering from where. Understandable, as you are, after all, just a mere appointed guard, with no reason to keep up with important happenings beyond your small area of expertise.
Cut and Dry took in slow, deep breaths, willing to let this mare keep talking, only because she had a professional duty to learn as much about these mares as possible, in order to make a more accurate report to her lord.
However, she continued, I am certain you've heard of the elements of harmony.
Trixie paused for dramatic effect. Cut and Dry stared. The information turned certain gears in her mind that made everything click into place. That's where she's heard those names! It had been all over the newspapers for weeks after the longest night celebration. It was the biggest historical event in centuries, and oh, buck me into the sun. Cut and Dry thought, this walking mountain of pompous ego is the element of magic? Which would make her two companions elements of harmony as well? She couldn't see it, not even for the cute Pegasus.
So, these two and you are elements of...
She shook her head.
No. Seriously? No. This got to be some kind of con. You seriously expect me to believe that you're the mares that saved Equestria for Corona? What proof do you have?
If you don't believe me, then that's your problem, not mine,
Trixie said in a purely dismissive tone, as he could care less about her Cut and Dry's opinion.
I and my fellow elements are here to ensure the ponies of Oaton are not being mistreated, and that their rights as citizens of Equestria are not being trampled upon by either the Hoofington Lumber Guild or the Copper Coin family. You may inform your employer that I shall be visiting the Lumber Guild's compound later today to conduct a thorough inspection of their operation under the authority I possess as both the element of magic and as an appointed representative of the Night Court.
The mayor's words were followed by a few cheers from the crowd, though Cut and Dry was observant to note that a few of the villagers seemed just a tad disappointed that it didn't look like things were going to lead to a brawl. Seemed a lot of them had been keeping some serious pent-up anger inside. Cut and Dry would have to remember, when making her report to Count Shining, that it might be a good idea to call in another squad of house guard to the Lumber Guild's camp. Right now, it was just her and 5 other ponies. Enough for basic security, but not enough to deal with a mob full of angry villagers. Oaton was small, but there were still enough burlier ponies here that Cut and Dry would want a few more swords and spears on her side of things, just to be on the safe side. Ugh. Why did her lord have to choose now of all times to take a personal interest in his business ventures anyway? Shining had never gone out of his way to oversee the family's business ventures before. Heck of a time to start. But her duty was to ensure the safety and to look after the interests of the copper coins. right now, that meant getting back to the Lumberguild's camp. So he supposed that the Lumberguild's current leader, Sawdust, would also need to be informed. Though, Cut and Dry wasn't all that fond of him. He was a weird unicorn, with a quiet manner that gave Cut and Dry the creeps.
Ugh, fine, she said. I'll let my lord know of your request for an audience and inspection. Pythia, let's go. But, what about getting slashed? We're off duty, Cut. Can't I stay at least? I can get drunk with a bunch of silly villagers that chat up the mayors in town. It's clear we're not wanted here, and it's even clearer you're not getting any local tail. Suck it up, Buck. You'll just have to suffer being alone and summer tonight. Hey, I can accept the risk of being lynched by an angry mob if they at least let me have a drink first. This place has some of the best hooch I ever had, and I've gotten drunk in a lot of watering holes in my day. If this Trixie isn't a local, I might have a shot with her.
Trixie glanced, lips twisting in disgust, and face rending as he said with vehemence,
I assure you, in every conceivable manner, you do not.
See? You're out of luck, Casanova. Let's go.
Cut and Dry said quickly, as he grabbed both of you within a white aura of telekinetic magic, and began to drag the half-heartedly struggling stallion off. The villagers parted for the leaving guards, most of them looking quite pleased and full of themselves, now that the objects of their scorn were departing. So he did catch a few comments as he walked by.
I almost feel sorry for the guy. Tonight's gonna be one serious party to celebrate Trixie coming back into town.
Oh, well, the nothing is sorry for them. Them class at the Sputnik, so they'll do anything for the stray pets of the nobility. Bah! Nobles, who needs them?
Ain't Trixie a noble, though? Being all the apprentice of a princess.
That's totally different. And even if he was a noble, it wouldn't matter. Because he's just here to save us. Just like before.
Just like before? What is he talking about?
Cut and Dry wondered, then recalled something. She and her fellow guards weren't a part of the Lumber Guild, but they did spend their off time drinking and playing guard games with the lumber ponies, and she remembered hearing a few of those ponies mention that the Lumber Guild had come to Oaton before, and that some madness involving a crazed unicorn had nearly cost all of them their jobs, and some of them their lives by burning down the entire camp. She hadn't really pressed for details, not caring much about some incident from a year ago. But if this Trixie was the same pony from before... The comments became inaudible as Cut and Dry pulled both the out of town and met up with her brother down the road heading north. Her mind turned over what she learned, while having heard of the mayors who had become the elements of harmony, despite not being able to instantly recognize them by description or name. She knew little else. Did they actually have the authority to just walk into a count's fiefdom and inspect one of the business operations without any kind of prior arrangements made? Trixie didn't even remotely seem like the trustworthy sort, but she'd been so confident in her matter, it was hard for Cut and Dry to dismiss the possibility that the mayor was being serious. She didn't know what to make of the other two mayors either. Cheerilee had seemed like she was enjoying the proceedings, and hadn't looked like she had been taking anything seriously. She certainly hadn't come off like some kind of agent of the crown. The only one who had looked serious had been the Pegasus. Raindrops. Nice name. It suited her.
Ugh! Focus, Cut!
Raindrops had, if anything, seemed both nervous about something, and was the only one in the entire crowd besides the mayor who wasn't amused by Trixie's attitude, which only gave the Pegasus more points in the Cut and Dry's book. It was all quite puzzling, and the guards mayor couldn't get a quite picture of the pieces he had. All she knew for sure was that Trixie mayor was trouble. When he finally caught up with Lock and Key, her brother visibly relaxed, as she heard relief in his voice.
Glad you can make it out. Was worried when I saw all them visitors gathered around your place. Things looked kinda tense down there.
She sighed, seeing that her brother was shaking slightly. She probably shouldn't have left him alone up the road like that. He never did too well on his own. She gave him a quick and brief smile that she hoped was reassuring.
I'm fine, Lock. So, Spithio, my alcohol! My poor brain cannot tolerate another night without sweet information! Mostly. If things had gotten ugly down there, I had a spell that could have gotten us clear enough. Let's get back to camp, and fast. Lord Shiny needs to be informed of this development. What development? What's that? What's going on, Sias?
At the question, Cut Dry glanced back at Oaton, where she could faintly see the image of the three mayors, the three supposed elements of harmony, being led by the now clearly jovial crowd toward this village tavern. Eyes narrowed.
Trevor,
with a capital T. Well, there goes our element of surprise, Trixie thought shyly, but kept it from showing on her face, maintaining her confident front for the villagers as they led her and her friends to the village tavern. The jovial mood of the Oaton residents was infectious, and Trixie found she didn't have to force her confident smile, despite feeling a tad irked at the guard mare. Trixie hadn't even bothered to ask her name, and had been prickly sort, and much to Trixie's chagrin, hadn't seemed all that amused by the situation. Still, everything had gone about as well as Trixie could have hoped, given she hadn't wanted to have to deal with Coppercoin's house guard so soon. She managed to coax a little extra information out of the conversation. She had hoped to manage to question Mayor Chief as quickly as possible, and then get her and her friends moving on to phase 2 of Trixie's masterful and amazing plan to save Oaton and look good while doing it, before running into any pony from either the Lumber Guild or Coppercoins. The plan had been able to drop in on the Lumber Guard unannounced in order for them to pull off balance and catch anything suspicious before they had a chance to hide it away. The guard showing up in Oaton right on the heels of her own arrival ruined that prospect. If circumstances had been different, Trixie didn't doubt she could have spun an easy-to-believe lies that would have deflected the attention away from herself and two friends, putting the guard's minds at ease. She couldn't do that, though, with the entire village gathered around watching. Under the eyes of her audience, she had to play the role they expected of her. So instead, she went for the opposite tactic. Play up exactly why she was here, and go a step further by declaring her intention to inspect the Lumber Guild's camp. It was a gamble, trying to tack on any kind of supposed authority to her and her friends being the elements of harmony. A gamble that relied heavily on the notion that Count Shiny was ignorant of just what little power the elements had, politically speaking. One benefit of this whole elements thing is no pony seems to know what make of us yet. No pony besides Luna ever wielded them, and that was 1,000 years ago. For all Count Shiny knows, I do have authority to conduct an inspection. At the very least, it would take him a few days to make an inquiry about that. Neither I nor my friends have any kind of backing from the Night Court. More than enough time to snoop around under the pretext of an investigation and find out what skeletons he and the Lumber Guild have hidden away. She imagined the news that the guardsmere would deliver would be at the very least put her opponents on edge, and even if they did have time to prepare for her arrival, hide away evidence of whatever wrongdoing they were up to, their nervousness could make their efforts sloppy. Sometimes it was easier to find evidence that was hastily and poorly written, rather than was left inconspicuously out the open, where it might not look like evidence at all. She, Raindrops and Cheerilee had been ushered into the large common room on the bottom floor of the tavern. As it happened, this was also the home of Mayor Sheaf and his family, the entire second floor of the building acting as their residence. Trixie had managed to tell the mayor that she really needed to talk to him about Oaton's situation in private, before the crowd of eager villagers had begun to get positively festive. Sheaf, giving her a guarded look, had told her to just give him a few minutes, and he'd send some pony to get her and her friends, and that in the meantime she enjoyed this village's hospitality. And with that, he headed upstairs, leaving Trixie and her friends to the crowd. Cheerilee was in her element here, already with a mug of foaming ale and hoof, and happily chatting with half a dozen Oaton residents near the tavern's bar, and from the sound of things, she was immensely enjoying herself, having little trouble keeping up with the enthusiastic questions of the villagers. Trixie could think of a few lines of conversation, only frowning slightly when some of Oaton's ponies started asking Cheerilee about how they were going to deal with the Lumber Guild. Trixie didn't pick out Cheerilee's response to that line of questioning, but could see the schoolteacher threw a wink her way, letting Trixie know she had things well in hoof. However, Raindrop seemed less comfortable with all the attention, and was also having a hard time telling the villagers no when they kept trying to put a drink in her hoof. Trixie felt a stab of guilt. She imagined part of Raindrop's nervousness stemmed from the glasses and their enchantment. Trixie had explained their function briefly before getting Raindrops to put them on, but she doubted the Pegasus had been quite prepared for how effective the enchantment was at doing what it did. Well,
assuming it was working the way it was supposed to. It should be. Trixie had practiced the spells plenty, despite the difficulty of learning them from a book, instead of the far more natural method of seeing the spell in action itself. Trixie wasn't without her own drink, having practically been bombarded with them for the moment entering the tavern. In her case, it was a cup of whiskey that kept floating next to her. One of the villagers had been all too happy to explain that the village usually got on by ale, but kept a stock of whiskey around for special occasions, which Trixie and her friends' arrival certainly counted as. Most of the villagers were already on their way to inebriation, and Trixie was getting the start of a pleasant buzz that didn't have any intention of actually getting drunk. It was easy enough to weave a simple illusion of her glass simply looking empty or full as the circumstances demanded. Keeping the villagers happy, she was enjoying the festivities without actually drinking too much. Seeing Raindrops getting a little cornered, Trixie managed to weave her way through the crowd and come up next to her friend, addressing the overeager villagers that had surrounded Raindrops.
All right, folks, let's give my friend here a little space. Sally?
Of course. We weren't trying to bother her or nothing. Just trying to make you feel at home.
Said one, already fairly inebriated-looking stallion, with a wide grin and raising his mug.
Yeah, I was celebrating you coming back to help us out. You need to celebrate without drinks. Bet you'll be kicking them lumber guild jerks out here by tomorrow.
Hey, by tonight, I bet.
Burn them all out down like you did last time.
Yes, of course. I doubt this will take more than a day or two to sort out for one of my talents,
Trixie said, then flinched as she felt a hoof nudge her hard in the ribs.
Yeah, but let's not celebrate too hard until we've actually got the job done, said Raindrops, hopefully without needing to burn anything down. Ah! Lumberguild sucks the sigh of it after having the gall to come back here after what they did. Drying up that only source of water. That's like trying to kill the whole town!
Knows that there was still some water in the riverbed this time, though, mentioned Raindrops, her eyes carefully squinting at something just above the village stallion's head. Cheerilee knew what Raindrops was looking at, but wondered if the Pegasus realized she didn't need to squint like that to make the enchantment work. Trixie wasn't pressed, though. She thought she needed to steer her honest friend a little bit, prompt her to ask the right questions, or do the questioning herself. It was pleasing to see Raindrops taking the initiative, and that she noticed there was still a bit of water in the riverbed this time. Trixie had wondered about that. Villager. Trixie realized it was the one called Potato Sack, the one she supposedly beat in a drinking, hoof wrestling contest. Just cocked his head to the side curiously.
Yeah, that is. But it ain't near enough for us to keep the fields watered. Barely enough to keep a decent stock of ale. Bet the guild just got lazy with the dam this time, and is leaking a bit is all. Not like it matters. You're all gonna bust that thing up soon enough. Hey, Trixie, what to do with you nuts? I've been practicing how to hold any liquor since you trashed me, just in case you ever did come back to town.
Trixie smiled politely.
Oh, I wish I could, but I'll be speaking with your mayor soon about a few things I need to know before speaking with the Lumber Guild, so...
Why would you need to talk to them?
Potato Sack asked abruptly.
Excuse me?
Trixie wasn't sure what he meant, and was a little surprised at being interrupted. Potato Sack down some more ale, iced head on focus.
Says nothing, I guess. Just don't think of what needs to be talked about with them Lumber Guild jerks. You just go up there, knock kick them out, burn them out, whatever, and then come right back on here, and we can have an even bigger party to celebrate. It's not like you, being Princess Luna's life of mare, need to listen to what a bunch of dam building, water stealing, money grabbing, noble pets like them have to say. Right, everybody!
There were a number of raucous cheers from the nearby villagers, all raising their drinks.
What? Yeah! The Great Powerful Trixie will teach those stuck-up bastards that the common ponies got big friends in the Night Court, too! Copper coins! Bah! That just counts. Nothing compared to the Knight's Justice!
Knight's Justice?
Raindrops gave Trixie a look.
Must have been one of those titles I gave myself last time I was here.
Trixie sighed quietly, ears flattening under her hat.
I must have really given these ponies the impression I was a big roller in the Night Court. We should really just come out and explain to them we're not affiliated with the Night Court, let alone have any power there, said Raindrops. The villagers were still being so loud that none standing around could hear her, and Trixie even if they were speaking normally, but she was whispering to her friend all the same. Honestly, Trixie, they might be mad, but ultimately, this is only going to get more complicated the more they think we're something we're not. Trixie frowned, trying to decide how to best explain this to Raindrops. She knew Raindrops wasn't one who refused to lie. Her sense of honesty wasn't quite that straightforward. She was pretty sure she heard Raindrops lie before, if the circumstances demanded it. So Trixie didn't understand why Raindrops had such a problem with this. Trixie didn't want to see the sense of Oaton. Maybe it was just the township in general she had been willing to come out and with the truth right from the start. But there was a certain filly that had come to Trixie. A filly who hadn't come for Trixie Lulamoon, the not-so-well-known, or liked, Princess of Luna, who screwed up her time at Canterlot so badly she had come to Ponyville leaving behind no friends or allies in the capital. A filly that hadn't come for the mare who bore the element of magic and saved the country from Corona. Instead, a filly who had come to find the Hero of Oaton, the mare called Trixie who had saved her town, well apparently lost beyond belief, for certain doom, and did so all the while seeming larger than life itself. Trixie knew she wasn't actually all that heroic, even on her best days. She wasn't that self-deluded most of the time, but that wasn't the point. From Bristol's perspective, Trixie was that hero of grand tales, who could ooze confidence and sweep away other ponies' fears, and make them believe that everything was going to turn out okay. That was who she needed to be, while she was here in Oaton, because that was what the filly had come to Ponyville for. Even if it was just an illusion, that didn't make it any less real to those who had viewed and believed in it. That was the magic of illusions. The power of perspective. Please, Raindrops, just bear with me on this. Trixie wasn't a mare who used the word please very often. They have to believe. It's what they need. It's what Bristle needs. For many ponies, the belief in a legend is far more powerful than the actual truth. I don't really agree with that, the Jasmine Pegasus said, but she slowly closed her eyes and nodded. But you're just so pony. Just understand that this turns bad. I'll stick by you. But I'm going to be pissed at you afterward! Understood. Hey guys! Cheerilee suddenly came walking through the crowd, face reddened even beyond her normal magenta shade. With one arm slung around a stallion she seemed to be dragging around with her, still holding a now empty mug in the other. This place is great! That guard fellow wasn't joking. This town's got some fantastic ale. Seriously, I need to tear Barely Punch about this place. She'd love to find out what they put in this stuff. The stallion she seemed to be dragging around, Trixie noticed with a slight quirk of her eyebrows, seemed both elated and terrified at the same time. Trixie surmised the terror might be stemming from the fact that Cheerilee's grip on him didn't look all that safe. Trixie might have been imagining things, but she was almost certain she heard ribs grinding together from the tightness of that grip. The stallion seemed to be bearing it, only because of his proximity to an attractive mare. Or at least Trixie figured Cheerilee counted as attractive. Trixie didn't think on such things. Thank you very much. Changing subject now!
You have to talk with the mayor, see? Miss Cheerilee about the ale. It just, rest me or, oh stars, I think she broke something.
Oh, I think I will, said Cheerilee, tossing the now empty mug aside and sitting down the poor stallion. Definitely, before leaving town. So, great and powerful Trixie, cute and adorable Raindrops. We talking to the mayor soon? As much as I'm enjoying myself, we do have some heroing to do, right? Seems every pony here is expecting us to get this wrapped up by morning.
Cute and, that's it! Glasses are coming off, now!
Said Raindrops, moving a hoof to take the glasses off. Wait, Raindrops, Trixie said, putting a hoof on the pig's shoulder and leaning in to whisper, the enchantment takes time to adjust to a new pony. If you take them off now, it'll be an hour before some pony else could use them. I need you to wear them when we talk to Mayor Sheaf. If he's hiding anything, those glasses are our best bet to find any clues about it.
Fine! But one more adorable comment, and you can find another lie detector. These glasses are creeping me out. You have any idea how disconcerting it is to see what other ponies are?
Hey, Trixie, Raindrops, Cheerilee, what are you all talking about?
Bushel's sudden and excited voice piped in.
Oh, Bushel.
Trixie had almost dropped her drink at the fillies' abrupt appearance, but recovered fast.
We were just talking about how your father actually... Is he ready to see us?
Bushel nodded enthusiastically.
Uh-huh. He told me to come get you. I can't wait to see you in action, even though I'm grounded and probably won't get to see much. But come on, my dad's waiting. Oh, and you got me my brothers, and my sister, and Mom.
Trixie couldn't help but smile warmly at the filly.
Lead on, Bushel. I'd love to meet the rest of your family.
Though there were a few disappointed groans from the villagers that Trixie and company were departing upstairs, Trixie was quick to assure them there would be more than enough time later for her to participate in a proper party once their village was saved. It seemed to Trick, and many of the villagers went back to happily drinking, while many of the others cleared some space in the middle of the tavern to start dancing. As he was led upstairs, Trixie felt a small pang of worry, looking on all those happy ponies. They honestly thought their troubles were at an end, now that she was here. She wasn't going to screw this up. Not this time. Not like all those times at Canterlot. Not like the Ice Palace. She had her friends with her. She wouldn't fail as long as she had them by their side. Right? Raindrops was trying very hard not to focus on any one pony for too long. Trixie had given Raindrops a very brief explanation of how the glasses worked before she put them on, but had ill-prepared the Pegasus for the nature of this enchantment. And she intentionally avoided focusing her attention on any pony, then things were fine. But the second she paid any kind of attention to a pony, the glasses would start to do their thing and begin to show her what was on the pony's mind. This felt wrong to begin with, peering into a pony's mind without permission. Trixie hadn't seemed so absolutely certain that using these glasses would be instrumental in finding evidence to uncover whatever wrongdoings were going on in Oaton. Raindrops wouldn't have even considered using these things. Ponies needed their privacy, and she had things in her mind she certainly wouldn't want a pony ever looking at. Trixie had assured her that the glasses would only display surface thoughts. The unicorn had explained that it was not a remarkably powerful spell. It couldn't delve deeply or seek out any specific information from a pony's head. That was why asking the right questions was important. It brings certain thoughts to the surface, and hence display the images associated with those thoughts. It was still unbelievably unnerving, and Raindrops even wondered at the legality of such an enchantment. Shouldn't making something like this be kind of restricted? Trixie didn't seem concerned with that, but considering it was Trixie, that didn't mean much. Raindrops just hoped her friend knew what she was doing. Trixie would be handling the talk with Mayor Sheath, asking certain questions about Trixie's first time to Oaton, and the current predicament of the village. Raindrops just wouldn't be to watch the stallion's surface thoughts for anything out of the ordinary. Not sure what she expects to find out. The mayor doesn't strike me as the type to hide much of anything. It's clear he's got some kind of issue with Trixie, but that doesn't mean he's hiding some big secret. The stairs led to a decent-sized living room, though, much like the tavern, it had fairly bare bones furnishings. Bushel hopped happily into the room and called out, "Ma! Breadcrumb! Milk drop! I brought him back! Concede! From a side room, a pair of foals came stumbling in so fast they were practically tripping over each other. A colt and a filly, both who seemed a number of years younger than Bushel. The colt had a green coat that matched Mayor Sheath's, but his mane was the same blue that Bushel had. The filly had a creamy white coat and mop-like yellow mane. From behind the two foals, an adult mare entered. The family resemblance between the mare and Bushel was unmistakable, as the mare had shared an identical bright sunny yellow coat and light blue mane, even the same wide expressive brown eyes. Bushel's mother looked identical to her daughter, save that she had her cutie mark, what appeared to be Raindrops blinked. Was that a camera? Odd cutie mark for a farm mare. With so many ponies now in the room, it might have seemed cramped, but Raindrops was pretty used to it. Her home was a pretty cramped place too, but it was cozy. This felt the same. The two new foals rushed right up to them, eyes wide and bright.
Which one's Trixie? Which one? Which one? Bushel, is it this one? Is it this one?
The colt was bouncing up and down, licking her raindrops and pointing his hoof. Bushel snored and rolled her eyes.
No, that's one of Trixie's friends. Trixie's a unicorn.
Which one's the unicorn?
The one with the awesome hat. Duh. Oh, but it can't be that. But this one can't be Trixie.
She said to Philly, looking at Cheerilee.
She's the prettiest.
Raindrops, Cheerilee, and Trixie all exchanged glances. Raindrops seemed to look away quickly, as though she was starting to see that odd white mist form. The indicator glasses were starting to read a pony's thoughts. The mist beginning to form around Trixie's head, as Raindrops had focused on her. Offense, as Raindrops looking away. Dang, glasses were so troublesome. Why couldn't Trixie have put in some kind of command word or something?
Ahem. Children, don't bother these good ponies. They're here on important business,
said Bushel's mother, as she walked up and lowered her head in a polite bow.
It's a pleasure to meet you again, Miss Lulamoon.
Just Trixie, please, Trixie said, and Raindrops could see the small twist of her friend's ear. Trixie really did have an issue with that last name.
Oh, you were so insistent on calling calling you Miss Lulamoon on your last visit.
The mayor looked away, coughed politely.
Quite insistent. But perhaps that was the alcohol talking? You certainly imbibe a quite remarkable quantity, as I recall.
Weird, Raindrops thought. Her accent. I can't be sure, but it sounds real different from every pony else in Oaton. She sounds more like Trixie than any pony from Oaton. It struck her then. It was a Canterlot accent. Raindrops couldn't be entirely sure, but enough Canterlot ponies had come through Ponyville over the years that she heard that airy, sophisticated accent enough times to recognize it.
Well, yes, Trixie went on. I was doing my utmost to accept the village's hospitality. Still, I prefer there be no formality between us. Just Trixie will do. Very well. Things did proceed so quick at that night, I hadn't even had the time to properly introduce myself. So, please allow me the honor, Trixie. My name is Picturesque, Steve's wife and mother of these rambunctious little storms of chaos that like to masquerade as falls. They don't seem too bad,
Trixie said. Then, blinked in surprise, his breadcrumbs jumped on her back and poked his head under his hat.
Hey, you're right, sis. She is a unicorn. I'm going to poke her horn.
Just as fast as Bushel was climbing up Trixie's side, biting her brother's hair and trying to pull him off.
Get off her, stupid. You don't want to poke heroes.
The sudden and distant wake caused Trixie to stumble with a surprised yelp, and she almost went right back down the stairs as Raindrop's hand quickly moved to her friend. Even so, Bushel's pilling on breadcrumb caused the fallen filly to go tumbling down to the ground, the former with Trixie's hat now stuck on her head. Picturesque sighed and smiled apologetically before fixing her children with a stern gaze.
That's enough, you two. Breadcrumb, what have I told you about not jumping on the adults? Not to do it. And, Bushel, what did I say about pulling your brother's tail? That it was okay under emergency circumstances? Not to do it? That's right. Now all three of you will sit quietly and behave yourselves around these good ponies who have come to speak with your father. Otherwise, there'll be more than one grounded foal in this household, and no dessert to be had by any of them. Understood?
Yes, Ma, claimed the three pacified ponies.
Good,
Picturesque said with a satisfied nod and looked at Trixie.
I do apologize. Are you quite all right?
I'm fine. A little horseplay is nothing compared to some of my past experiences with foals, Trixie said with a sidelong look at Cheerilee. Cheerilee rolled her long eyes.
My class wasn't that rough with you.
There was a rope involved!
Well, a jump rope anyway. I don't know where the foals learned to tie knots that effectively.
Raindrops was quick to clear her throat loudly before that side conversation could go any further. Anyways, where's your husband, Miss Picturesque? Kinda got a lot on our to-do list today, and we kinda need to get to it.
Oh, yes, of course. Right this way.
Picturesque led them to one of the side doors, then opened up into a short hallway with multiple doors on either side.
He's in his study on the road to the right, into the hallway. I'm currently getting lunch made. If the three of you are hungry, I can easily fix some extra plates. That'd be good, thanks, said Trixie. And for a second, Raindrops thought she could see a look of exhaustion pass over her friend's face, before Trixie replaced it firmly with her usual look of confident bravado. Had a light breakfast and could use the food. Coffee, too, if you have any. I'm afraid I don't have coffee, but I do have a tea that is nearly as effective. Well, that'll work, I suppose.
Raindrops frowned, peering at Trixie, then had to look away as the damn mist began to form again. Be nice if she could just take these glasses off, but she'd seen enough in her brief look anyway. Trixie was tired, more tired than she was showing. Muir hadn't slept at all last night, despite Raindrop's insistence that she do so. Well, that was certainly going to change tonight. Raindrops mentally vowed to make sure Trixie gets some sleep. Picturesque left them to it, and the three friends entered the indicated door. Inside was a small space with a little more than a desk, and a few sitting cushions, and a short bookshelf that was only half full. Mayor Sheaf was sitting behind the desk, his large stray hat off, and sitting on the edge of the desk as he levitated a pill coin and was writing in a notebook. Raindrops blinked, looking at the soft yellow glow around the horn poking from his head, a horn that had been hidden by the hat he had worn up to this point. She didn't know why she was so surprised, probably because of his build. Sheaf was built like an earth pony, and top that off with the fact that all ponies in Oaton had looked like to be earth ponies. It just seemed natural to assume,
Hey, I see you managed to pull yourself away from my ponies,
Sheaf commented dryly, eye fixed on Trixie.
And you're not drunk. Remarkable restraint, Miss Lulamoon.
Because Raindrops had been staring at him, still surprised that he turned out to be a unicorn. The mist had already formed around his head, without her realizing it, and began to do his thing. Of course, she was the only one who could see the mist, the image being generated by the enchantment inside the glasses she wore. Within the mist, images began to swirl and take shape. She saw Trixie in those shapes, face red for clear intoxication, dancing on a table with a yellow mare. Picturesque? There were images of two purple unicorns as well, that looked so similar to each other they had to be related, one clearly older than the other. And in the images they were glaring at each other. Raindrops saw that what she thought might have been the dam, an edifice of wood beams in the image that was clearly on fire. But there was something off about them flames. They weren't the right color. The flames were red, rather than a natural orange. Raindrops resisted the urge to look away, as Trixie approached the mayor to speak with him. Her job there was to watch these images for clues, so that was what she was going to do, as uncomfortable as doing so made her. She felt Cheerilee next to her nudge her hoof, and Raindrops glanced her over. The schoolteacher pony was giving her a concerned look. You okay? Raindrops was a little surprised. Cheerilee didn't usually pick up on the moods of other ponies, which probably meant Raindrops was far more visibly bothered than she preferred to show. I'll tell you later, Raindrops whispered back, and refocused on Sheath, who still only had eyes for Trixie, practically ignoring the other mares in the room. I would prefer if you just called me Trixie, Mayor Sheath, if it's all the same to you, Trixie said, sitting on one of the cushions, and setting down the glass of whiskey she'd still be levitating around with her on her desk. And while I'd love to indulge a little more of the generosity of your village, I did come here with one purpose, one that I prefer to be sober to take on.
Strange, considering last time you were here, we could hardly keep your cup full. Not that I minded that much, given the circumstances of the time my ponies were in need of an excuse for a good party. Much like now.
Steve replied evenly. I've learned to moderate myself a bit more since then. Mayor, let me ask this straight out. Can you tell me in detail what happened that night? I'll admit my memory isn't complete about a number of things,
Trixie said. Steve looked at Trixie for a few long seconds, and Raindrops saw the images in the mist beginning to slow their rapid and confusing twirl, and began to focus on one sharp image. One of Trixie doing her grandstanding poses, face red from intoxication, and grinning with each smug confidence that Raindrops had imagined this to be some kind of exaggeration. Now, Trixie Raindrops never looked that full of herself. Maybe there'd be a few instances of her getting close, but not quite like this.
Nothing much to tell, Trixie. You came down in the middle of a confrontation between myself and the then leader of Hoofington's Lumber Guild. You brushing off Sawblade tickled me a bit, and I'll admit I didn't think much of your sudden appearance. You wanted a drink. My opponents needed to relax after all the stress we were under. So, I called it a reason to have a bit of a drinking party. Would have stopped there, I imagine, if my wife hadn't told you about what was going on with the Lumber Guild.
I presume you mean the dam they built? I wanted to ask you about that. Why did the Lumber Guild build a dam up on the river in the first place? Cut in Cheerilee suddenly, drawing looks for both the mayor and Trixie. Cheerilee returned their looks with a small shrug. It just isn't something that other ponies working in lumber would normally need to do. Mayor Sheep didn't visibly tense, but Raindrops saw the image of Trixie vanish, and replaced with what looked like a vague Pegasus eye view of the landscape around Oaton. The river was a rather long one, snaking its way north to south, with a number of bends that let it trail around the ledge of the forest, then through it near the north end. The image showed the river ceasing at one point, and the blue line of water moving westward to another, larger river.
Simple enough. They were redirecting the river to another nearby river, a larger one that flows by Hoofington. Transporting lumber over land is expensive in terms of labor. Sawblade figured he could save bits by paying the dam up the river and redirect the river in short term, then shift the lumber file left. Less labor intensive once the construction's done. He was planning to spend a long time cutting into South Everfree Forest. He didn't much care if cutting out the water to any farmland south of his operation would hurt the ponies who lived there.
Again with the images of those two purple unicorns. Raindrops realized that the coloring of them was close to the description Trixie had given to her story about how Sawblade looked. But if one of those unicorns was Sawblade, the older, presumably, who was the younger one? And why were they butting heads in Chief's thoughts? Still seems like an odd choice, said Cheerilee, rubbing a hoof to her chin, but she let it drop, having taken a seat next to Trixie. Raindrops hadn't sat down, and was still hanging back a bit, trying to look unobtrusive. In any case, said Trixie, you say your wife told me about what was happening. What happened?
You mean before or after you hit on my wife? Said Chief dryly.
Trixie stared. I what?
Let's just say you were getting pretty friendly with Picturesque. Not that my wife can't handle herself with a drunk mare, but the stallion can't help but get a little protective. Oh, don't look so horrified. You two didn't do anything. You just got all hot about defending us own pony folk as Luna's... let's see if I remember this right. Blazing and righteous apprentice of justice.
I do have a certain flair for titles.
All of them as made up as that one?
Trixie's lips tightened as her posture stiffened, but only a little. Some of them I've earned. Representative of the Night Court, and the element of magic, to name two.
Right. And I'm willing to bet my fellas is property, because unfortunately I'm rather stuck doing so, that neither of those titles confers much actual authority,
said Mayor Sheaf, placing his front hose on the desk and looming at Trixie. Raindrops for a second was ignoring the images in the mist swirling around the mayor's head, and found herself instinctively moving forward, putting her own foot hose onto the desk and pushing herself to face the mayor.
Doesn't matter who had what authority, we're here to help you, so cut the imposing act!
Sheaf's eyes flicked to hers, and he locked stares. After a few seconds, the mayor sighed and backed down, sitting back on his own cushion.
Okay, fine. You three are here to help. How? I wasn't fooled by your boasting back there, Trixie. I'm slightly better informed than most of my fellow visitors on how the Night Court works. And I never even heard of Princess Luna having an apprentice, let alone an apprentice having any great personal authority. I also know that you saving my village was as much of an accident as anything else. So, now that you're here, what do you think you're going to accomplish?
My friends and I shall investigate the Lumber Guild's current operation, and their connection to the copper coins. I'm certain I'll find evidence that their presence here is violating some kind of law, or that they're doing something illegal. Once I find that, all I need to do is present that evidence to the ponies that do have the authority to stop it. I can do that much as a representative of Night Court. That to ensure Oaton's safety. But what do you mean by accident last time?
You